makes sense.
Should we make banking non-profit, or do we just nationalize
you can't
it?
do that. You got to nationalize it.
You're talking about finance, you're talking about banking reform, and we're talking about monetary reform. You're talking about three, in my opinion, you're talking about three different things, but Sue needs to respond to you.
It's interesting if you read Stephen's book to go through the long history of what has been called usury. And usury, historically, way back when, was any interest. For 1,000 years, from around 350 A.D., for the next 1,000 years, the Catholic Church was against usury of anything. And Stephen always goes back to Aristotle for his definition of money. And Aristotle, he said money, basically was saying money is used in exchange. It's not used to make profit.
Right.
And that's the people over the ages who have seen in their, whatever their devious way of seeing that they can manipulate the money, have used the money with the interest and with the debt to control other people.
Word. On that end, like, the thing I took away from Graeber's book was that there's no such thing as a society without money. Money is a social fact in every society. Like, the current monetary system that we have is analogous to, say, Webster Merriam charging the United States government interest for its citizens to use the English language. Like, there's no such thing as a society without math, music, martial arts, or money. It's just a social fact, and we take it for granted. It's just there, it just exists. But there's a science of money. Like, money can be created in different ways, and how that money gets created has big impacts for a society. Marx's whole base superstructure thing. But Marx didn't talk about money any differently than Adam Smith did. And that's something that Zarlenga points out in his book. Marx had a commodity view of money. He thought that money was like intrinsically valuable materials like gold. Whereas Aristotle's like, no, that's not how it should be. Not even how it is. That's not how it should be.
And I think the other thing to keep in mind, when you asked about what's the Federal Reserve, what is that? I mean, when they created the Federal Reserve in 1913, and what I mean by they, the international bankers got together secretly, stole off from New York undercover, didn't want any news people to find out they were doing it, to write that bill. And I don't know all the ins and outs of the bill. I've read and studied parts that I needed. But they really wanted to make a system that was very confusing to the ordinary person. Yeah. But they knew how to manipulate it. But what's common, I always go back to our colonial period in this country. So the colonies wouldn't allow private banks. When I learned that, I was like, what? I mean, private banks, they're all over, right? The colonies would not allow private banks. They only issued their own sovereign money from their legislature and either spent it or loaned it at very low interest to people. That's how they ran their government and their society.
Every one of them had a money system of its own.
Yeah. Every colony.
Each colony.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't even allow banks in there. But after the revolution, as
Hamilton came in.
As Charles Walter said, and I'll just mention this. I'm learning right now about a body of knowledge that's been developed since the 1930s that has been kept out of our schools, educational institutions, called the raw material economics. And Charles Walters was one of the people that kept this knowledge alive, you know, and he knew the money system. He knew the money system. And in his book, he says this very interesting thing. He quotes from one of the people that was at the Constitutional Convention, and they said, from the year 1783 to the year 1786, so this is right after the Revolution, you know, people have fought for their liberty from England, and they have it. So what happens? The next thing that happens is that the merchants in England send in all these low-priced, cheap goods into the colonies, and there weren't any tariffs. You know, we didn't have the Constitution yet. We didn't have any tariff laws. We had the Articles of Confederation.
Right.
It was very, you know, the states had the power.
Yeah.
And it caused, and this is what free trade does today, but back then, this is the same thing. Same thing that's happening today. It caused farmers to go bankrupt, merchants to go bankrupt, and that's why, I think it was in 1787, you had the first uprising against the federal government.
The Shays Rebellion?
Shays Rebellion. Because people had lost their livelihoods.
Yeah. Wow.
So one of the first acts.
You just get like a connection there, like that explains some shit.
They taught me this.
Yeah.
Attention.
I love it when that happens. You're like, what the fuck was that about? And then you lost on some money, and you're like,
the name. I'm like, oh yes, I heard this already.
Yeah.
So one of the first things
That's
that
all
the
good.
new Congress did was to pass a tariff bill to protect the farmers and the budding industry that was happening. You know. But it was at that point, after the Revolution, in that 1780s period, that the first banks were brought in. And I forget who, it was either Charles Walters, or he was quoting someone saying, you know, we were such a smart country, we were able to defeat the British, the most powerful military and navy in the world. But yet after we won that, we didn't keep our heads together around the money. Because trade is the money. When you're trading not only goods, but it's the money, you know. So anyway, just to say that from then on in this country, the bankers have wanted to give us their money, not for us to have our own money from our government. So Lincoln, he was one of the very few people that gave us our greenbacks. That was our money, debt and interest free, and created by the Treasury and spent by the Treasury. And that was the only money I know of that, since we got our freedom from England, was direct to us. You know, our money, sovereign money. Otherwise, there's always been in place these banks, and they want to give the public their money, which is debt money. You know, and it's anyway. But the Federal Reserve, you know, there's actually on the website. If you go to, this is very good. If you go to the website GreensForMonetaryReform, on the first page, there's a link to Professor Huber in Germany, and he explains how the Federal Reserve and the commercial banks work together. You know, it took me years to figure out what bank reserves were, because nothing has ever taught us.
No. They never taught us
they don't,
anything.
not only do they teach us,
shit.
they don't want us to know anything.
The only thing they say is supply and demand. That's the only thing you learn.
That's right.
And even that isn't true. Even that isn't true because of this book. It's like, no, there's no supply and demand. It's fucking bankers. Like, yeah.
The crap that they make up.
We talk about y'all heard my hypothesis. Like, there's no invisible hand regulating the market. It's actually an invisible penis. It's actually